Ready to begin? Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this governing council meeting of Alice King Community School to order at 5:59 p.m. and I will confirm that there is a quorum in attendance of the board. First item of business is to adopt this evening's agenda. Does anyone need to see one in order to be able to meaningfully vote? Okay, then I will call for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I so move.
Second?
I'll second.
Veronica, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, this one's gonna be a little challenging given our technology challenges this evening. So we need to approve the summarized minutes of the June 12th, 2024 regular meeting, which had previously been emailed, but Christy has some drafts in paper form if anyone needs to look at them. Does anyone need to take a moment and look at the minutes for June 12th? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from June 12th?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? I need to abstain because I was not in attendance at that meeting.
Who made the motion? Sure.
Veronica made the motion.
Dave
Dave seconded. I'm abstaining and it passed. Okay, the next item of business on our agenda this evening is the approval of the summarized minutes of the June 14th, 2024 emergency meeting of the Governing Council. Again, they were circulated to everyone for review. Chrissy has a paper copy if anyone needs to look at them. Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the June 14th, 2024 emergency meeting minutes?
I so move.
Thank you, Dave. Second?
Second.
Veronica? All in favor?
Aye.
Maricos abstains because she was not present. I had no sign up for public comment prior to the meeting as of my email before I left the office this evening. So we have no public comment tonight. Comments from council members. I have a brief one, but does anyone else have any comments for this meeting? I just want to say how very glad I am that we got our calendar and our budget for this year. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but at least for this 2024-25 year, I am thankful that we got our calendar and can say status quo. So yay, good job, team. Okay. Reports from invited guests. I don't see foundation this evening, so or equity council. Very good. Miss Christie, would you like to give us your head administrator report? Please?
Yes, I did email this out to everyone prior to the meeting, and since we don't have it for display, I'll just share. We have been working on student enrollment. Based on student enrollment, I have adjusted our goals for this coming year. We are decreasing from 5 K1 classrooms to 4 K1 classrooms to help help compensate for the decrease in enrollment at the K1 level. So currently we have 390 students enrolled and we are maintaining our goal of 425 students. So with cutting a K1 teacher, we will also be reducing by 1 EA. There will be there's no issues with that because it's the natural attrition that we won't fill those positions. Staffing for this coming school year, we've been working on that. We have hired some different positions. We've hired a 2-3 teacher, a 6-7 humanities teacher, a special education teacher, a social worker, and an EA. We are continuing to, we're in the process of filling the positions for makerspace and 8th grade humanities. And as Maricos said earlier, we are very happy about the situation with the calendar and budget. That's been really nice. So there was another hearing scheduled for July 2nd for the judge to hear summary judgments from both parties about the 180-day rule. That hearing did not take place to my understanding. It has been rescheduled for July 29th. But due to that preliminary injunction that was set in May, an NMPED was required to allow schools to resubmit their preferred calendars and budgets. We did resubmit. We were notified on July 1st that our preferred calendar and operating budget were approved, so we will be following our preferred calendar and budget, which is that calendar C, which was the one that closely mirrors the one that we had last year. So that has been communicated to the school community. We are still working to finalize the start and end times for this school day. We are still having some issues with AKCS transportation, which we'll talk about a little later in the meeting. The National Charter School Conference. So 4 of our admin members went to the National Charter School Conference in Boston. It was wonderful. I think we all walked away feeling like we gained something from it, some great ideas. More than anything, we got a sense of validation that we're doing a lot of the right things. And that was really nice to get together with experts from around the country, hear some things that they're doing, and it was like, oh, we're doing okay. You know, it really felt very good to realize that we're in a good place and we're on the right track. There's some things, of course, there's always room for improvement. We walked away with some ideas. One of the things that we're going to do is hold a staff social before school starts this year. And that was an idea that we got actually from a place in Boston. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So we were in an adult playground across our class. It was a place where families and girls could go and just eat and play cornhole and all these other games. And we're like, this would be fun to do with the staff. And so we're going to mirror that and do that the Saturday before school starts.
And just give people a chance to bring their families. So we've never really done anything where staff could also bring their families, just visit, hang out, get to know each other, completely not work related. And so we're really excited.
Keep going.
Our focus is to provide high quality education to diverse learners. High quality education, of course, is essential to everything that we do, but really also thinking through that equity lens and making sure that we're thinking about every single student and their individual needs. And so we're going to be having professional development topics that include project-based learning, intervention and extensions, equity, peaceful playgrounds, and analyzing student data. So peaceful playgrounds is something that we did. If you have a chance to walk around our playground, you can see all the work that's been done. We've had a couple groups of people come in over the summer. They've been painting sidewalks with things like hopscotch and Foursquare and Two Square, walking grids, alphabet grids, beanbag toss. And so the idea is to give kids more activities, structured activities to do. And so the PE teacher is going to be working with the kids to teach them the different recess games that they can do out there with these things, with these different, in these different areas. We're going to train the staff on it. So we're really excited about that. So we'll be doing some professional development in that area. And then also in just thinking about playground updates, we did get our permanent basketball goals installed on the south side of the building over here and also in front of the annex. I did include social emotional learning data from our CEL survey. A little hard because we don't have it available to display, but I do have that from beginning of year compared to end of year, and it's broken down by grade level. Looking at each of the 10 questions that we provide that we created for our survey. So I have that here. I'll pass it around if you want to look at it during the meeting. And then I don't know if you all recall, I think I shared earlier this year that PED decided that they were going to put out a social emotional learning survey called Panorama. So they did that, but because they didn't roll it out until like, I don't know, November, December timeframe, we were already in process with our own survey that we've done for several years as part of our mission specific goals. So we maintained our survey for this year, continued to do it beginning of year and end of year in addition to the Panorama survey. So now our leadership team is going to be doing some work to analyze our survey, the questions and results that, and the data that we get from that, compare that to the panorama survey, and then as a school, we'll decide if we're going to maintain our school developed self-survey. So I'll share that. I wanted to be able to provide academic data, the end of year academic data. Unfortunately, the program that we use decided that it's going to re-roster students for the following school year, and so account has been completely unavailable for a while. So I wasn't able to pull together any academic data, so I'll have to provide that to you guys at the next meeting. And important dates coming up, we have the first day for staff is July 29th, so right around the corner. We're going to have a family jumpstart day on August 1st, and our first full day for students is August 2nd. Any questions?
Thank you, Miss Christie.
Second's coming up.
Yeah.
Stay on the corner.
So before we start on committee reports, and we can do it when we get there, given our technological challenges this evening, I'm going to propose tabling the policy committee until the next meeting, because we're not going to be able to accomplish that this evening. So just before we get into it. So Veronica, I know you have many hats this evening, and I appreciate all the hats you're wearing, but can we, and Miss Laura, let's do finance, facilities, and human resources reports.
It'll be very easy. There was not a finance committee now in July.
Okay,
We will cover June and July in the August meeting.
very good, because of year end.
Yes,
Perfect. So we don't have any actions for finance this evening.
we do not.
Very good. Okay, Miss Pat, you are up, nominating council professional development committee.
Okay, we have 2 prospective council members in attendance with us. We're going to vote on admitting them to the council. But first, and you've all seen their resumes, if you have any questions, or if either of the 2 candidates want to tell us why they want to be here.
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah, why do you want to be here?
Lauren Honda, SCS now, I have to remember that. So I actually worked at Ellis team starting in 2006. So I had worked with them for several years up until they really grew. It was hard to contract and go back and forth. I have 2 grandkids that go to this game. So they love it. I want to be there to support the program, support the staff, whatever I can do.
Thank you, Rhonda. We're really excited that you are coming back as a support member instead of a contractor.
Yes.
Some great expertise. Baby?
So is a grandparent considered a parent? when you-
No.
Okay.
It's community member.
Community.
Oh, and we do have to move me into a community member slot next month.
Yes.
So for me, one of the things I know shared with Pat is that serving the community and being able to lend a hand where I can and utilize the skills or experience that I've gained over time is really important to me and part of my value system. And what better place to do that than here at Alice King Community School, where my daughter started school this last year. I know I quickly realized there's a very large learning curve that I need to go through, but that's part of the process.
Was she a kindergartner or? what?
Yeah,
Okay.
she was, and it's been an amazing experience. But I'm fully committed to learning everything I need to and having some of that patience with myself as hopefully you guys will have with me as I learn all the things that need to be learned. And it's been really amazing to watch you all and see your institutional knowledge for here, but even more broadly, your knowledge and experience in being able to do all the cool things that you get to do on this council and the impact you make on the school and the community as part of that. In the meantime, although I lack for some of that knowledge, a lot of that knowledge you guys have, I'm hoping that my financial management, organizational development, operations management, but also a particular thing I've really gotten to learn a lot about, which is change management and helping bring organizations through change, are things I can add value to as I learn all the other stuff. And just thank you guys for allowing me to come to meetings and learn a little bit in the meantime.
Thank you, Fabian, and thank you for having a heart and a willingness to serve. The learning curve is steep, but we've all done it, so it's doable. I didn't know anything when we started here. They started volunteering before I got on the board, so welcome, and we're glad to have you. If we all vote for you guys this evening.
Do we ask them to leave the room when we vote?
Nope. I mean, we can have it's their comfort level. It's their comfort level. If they want to stay, they can stay. If they like to leave, they can leave when we get there. But since they don't vote and we vote, it's up to them. All right. I
We
think
need a motion.
not yet. We're not there yet. We still got to go through nominating report. One of the things, and I don't know if you want to take the lead, Pat, on the three of us delinquents.
Oh,
Or you
on
want
the
me to do it?
professional development report.
Yes.
I had sent to Veronica the end of school year report that I was hoping that would get put up for review. When I get home, I will send it to everyone individually. We have 3 individuals who did not complete their training by the end of the year. In 2 cases, it was because for some reason PED closed the
Canvas.
Canvas website a day early.
Nothing
And
like waiting until the last minute, huh?
well, but
True that, but
these
I have
these two individuals who quote waited to the last minute do it every year, and I was confident
Yep.
that they were going to do it.
we were confident that we were going to do it as well.
So, but everyone else completed or exceeded their requirements, and unfortunately, we can't move. We can't move the credits around. So I'm hoping that we will be able to do better next year. It is
They don't
critical.
allow it to
It
be
is critical.
Done late,
No,
you either do it or you don't.
the system is closed permanently because we're starting a new school year. Now, the one good thing about it is that those of us who've been board members for a while, or at least a year, our requirement has been reduced. So we don't have that 8 hours, now we have 5. New members are still up there, but that might make it just a little bit easier to do. And in that case, if it had been that way last year, one of our individuals would have made it, and one was just one short. So I think it's doable this next year. It is critical that we do it because we have some authorization issues that might come up if we don't. Now, I had thought about maybe making a policy, written policy, to be included in the handbook as to what would happen if individuals did not meet these requirements. And I think that it's really up to, since this is kind of an odd occurrence, it's really up to you as a board or as a council, whether you want to do that. I'm willing to write the policy if you feel it's necessary.
Could we also put a earlier due date?
Well, see, the problem with that is because Missy, our contact at PED, Melissa Brown,
Right.
did say that, well, maybe we should set a date of April 1st. But quite a few of our classes that you can take are introduced in April and May for people who haven't been able
To go to the conferences.
to go to
They
the
did
conferences.
online.
So doing an April 1st date is kind of like a hardship
Okay.
for everyone. But we were advised that we put in the minutes notations about what we're discussing now. And, I don't know that we need a policy, but it's up to you. If somebody wants to make a motion, we can all vote on it.
We can't tonight because we don't have any action on the agenda, but we can discuss
can
it.
do
We
it.
can put it on the next
Yeah,
agenda.
because
and
it
discuss
goes
it
for this 25 school year, so, yeah, that's good.
for this current year.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's it is the 25 school year because
Yeah.
Laura sent me, and it will go out after this meeting, the PO for any of the training that requires a payment. So I'll send that out to everyone. And of course, as I've done in the past, whenever new training comes up, I will put that PO again in there. But just so that you all know, there is a PO that has been created to take care of that. And mainly, if my memory serves me correctly, it's those 8-hour classes, 2-day classes, whatever, that required a PO. I don't know how that's going to be affected cost-wise when they reduce it to 5 for.
If we only need 5, do we get to choose which 5? Or do
I don't know because
Oh,
I
you
haven't
haven't
gotten
seen
any guidance
Okay.
yet on what that is.
Okay.
So, certainly as soon as I get anything, I'll let you all know what it is. My guess is that our financial part of it will be one of the courses. But how that's affected when we the conference, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, that happens at Tamaya every year, the 2-day, I think that will be affected. Unless they spread it out so that we have to be there for 2 days, it might just be a 1 day. I think you can get 5 hours in, 2 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, or vice versa. So,
Patricia, I have a quick question. When we had discussed the training hours last time, I thought there was only 2 outstanding. I didn't know there were 3 folks that were outstanding. Does the third person know that?
yeah, everyone knows.
Okay, everyone knows. Okay.
Everyone
So it's
knows.
not me.
No.
And it's not all the hours either. It
No, Dominic, you have 12 hours.
some
So you're 4 hours over.
of the 3, some have 1, some have more than 1, some have, but it's not 0 because most of it,
Yeah. There's been an attempt in some cases, a large attempt to get it done. And I just want to stress that in our minutes, you need to put that
we attempted.
It
We
was
all
attempted,
that the 3 people
and that it was a
attempted.
technical issue that
Mhm.
precluded 2 individuals from
And the
doing it.
And the response I received back when I reported the technical problem was, sorry. So, and there's nothing that can be done for last year.
I was just asking because I was having some technical issues when I was using Canvas. I just wanted to make sure that stuff had recorded properly.
Well, evidently it went through.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't access anything. The links were dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me to the Canvas page, and the only thing that was on the Canvas page was 2021 something. But all the classes that had been there the week before were not available.
So next month, you plan on having some more training discussions on the agenda?
Yeah, we can place more training discussions on the agenda. The issue is, what are the consequences? And I researched what the consequences are, and the consequences, if anything, in terms of our charter, are that our authorizer has to first identify the problem and then put us on a corrective action plan. And then if we don't do the corrective action plan, that's when consequences can come. So part of this, we're gonna be in the land of limbo a little bit until we have our site visit in the fall to see if this issue is raised by APS or not. That's not to say we should not discuss what happens, but if we, and we should, and we can put it on the next agenda, but just something to consider, if we come up with a policy that says if you fail to do your stuff, we kick you off, you all need to think about what that means for the council and how many people would still be here this year if that was the policy.
And with this,
I
I mean, it's a volunteer, it's a volunteer group. It's not malicious. It happened, it's an odd year. And so, I mean, has it happened in past years? Yes. And it was like the same offender who's no longer a board member, but it's not habitual. It's not so to me, I mean, to put something punitive in there, it's like, okay, like, I mean, it's hurting the greater good. There's not.
Different than Dave's idea And like, that helps me. If someone gives me a deadline and say, you know, regardless of PED, our deadline is 2 months earlier, and then you're gonna start getting nasty grabs from Patricia, that would motivate me to not.
Well, the thing about it is that I think she does a great job in reminding us about the opportunities and all the different things. It just really is that, you know, we juggle a lot of things. Every individual one of us juggles a lot of
We're not
things.
sure how enforceable or enforced this policy has been for the different hours, because we have been given some information that there are some schools that never meet these requirements. Not one person on their
Even makes an attempt,
Well,
and there has
it's
not been
even
any
an
repercussions.
attempt. So, but we don't want to be one.
We don't. I mean, the trainings are helpful and
And
they
they
help
are
us
very
grow as a
helpful.
board members. It helps us, you know, with the school. So it really is just, I mean, an off year. Clearly, I'm one of the three.
And there was no intent,
I'm
there
not-
was
that's
no
what I'm
intent
saying.
by any of the
No,
three
so
of
I'm
us
like, I
to
don't-
not do it. It was not
It wasn't.
intentional
It was not.
failure
It
to
was-
comply.
It was not
was
just
not.
blowing it off.
It was
No.
technological failure to comply. Yes, it was the last day. I fully recognize that, but
But it's always.
But to put
available
something-
on the
it's
last
always
day.
been available on the last day, so I had no frame of reference to think I should do it earlier in the week because I had it on my calendar. Make sure to do your continuing it for AKCS today.
You've
Like,
you've
have
got
to do
till
it.
Sunday, June 30th.
That's what I'm saying, like, not the punitive piece, because that doesn't make any sense, but would it make sense to
I mean,
add
there's
an
like,
imposed deadline?
It might, the only thing that I would ask us to consider, and once we get more information, and Pat can tell us, with the change in the 5 hours and how that impacts. I mean, one of the considerations that we've always been mindful of on the PO situation to go to the big conference and to do those trainings is the cost.
the cost
And
is
so
significant.
when we're sending administration who need to be there and we're sending board members, if we're gonna impose a deadline of April 1st, we need to look at what's available and what the costs are, because in the past history, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, the only other available trainings outside those technology canvas ones have been paid for and multiple day conferences or a whole day conference. Because they did change the lunch and learn,
It's pricey.
and it is very
Well,
expensive.
they have all the ones that Melissa does that you can do.
Well,
Throughout-
That's
throughout
the, that's the
That's
lunch and
free.
learns, the free
The
lunch and learns,
Yeah.
but they've moved them now to not be lunch and learns. They've moved them to 4 to 6 in the evening, which doesn't work for parents who have to pick up children.
Okay.
So that's not a free option that's available. When they were during the lunch hour, I did them. Before we got campus, I did them during the lunch hour once a month and got them done. But they moved them.
I also want to just put out there that if you create a policy, we're then held accountable to our own policy. So then if we don't meet our own policy, that could potentially end up being an audit funding. So that's something to consider.
And right now, this failure is not auditable.
And it's not, I feel and hope that it is a one-off, you know,
Yes.
it's not this habitual thing where you just have individuals that are just blowing it off constantly. And so if that were the case, or it was like systemic, you know, the whole board is just blowing it off, then I think that's when we would move to something like that. But I don't think at this time there is a need to move to that. And I do think that the professional development group, Pat does a great job in reminding us of those things on a regular basis. It just,
For several years before she left the council, we had one member who did not do one,
And
and there were never any repercussions. But it's hard to say because PED is doing so many things now. That this might be the next on their list, who knows?
And those of us who wait until the 30th, now given this experience, will not do that again. I mean, you know, it'll at least, I'll try to do it on the 1st of June, the 1st of June.
Once
But-
I've done it like 7 or 8 times like you guys, so you should get like a year off.
One would think, but we don't. So, but that's okay. I mean, and the training is important and it is good. And I always learn something from it. And there was no intent to not comply. I think is the biggest piece, and we need to
I don't think anybody
appreciate
feels that there was any intent to not.
and think about how, if a policy is necessary, how we would manage that, given, as Veronica said, this is a kind of a one-off anomaly situation.
So once we get the required courses or choices we have, assuming finance is one of the items, we could talk about whether we want Laura to go through her training that she did this year again. Coming up for the next
My
year.
guess
Well,
is
and I
it'll
think-
probably be one of the
I would think
modules.
so.
Well,
And I thought that was very beneficial, so we'll see.
We do a 5-hour finance training.
Yeah. Condensed into two.
Yeah, they're not gonna let us get away from Open Meetings Act and IPRA and governance. That one will be one of them. Okay, so I think, if we're done with that discussion, Ms. Pat, did you have anything else?
No.
Okay, I am going to make a motion to table the policy committee report and readings. Given our technological difficulties this evening, we're not gonna accomplish anything meaningful. So I move to table it to our next meeting. Do you have a second?
Second. Veronica.
Further discussion? All in favor?
I
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
actually it might go quicker if we couldn't see it.
If I just told you what they said.
Sounds
And you didn't
good.
look at words.
Sounds good to me.
We put about 45 minutes on it last time I did.
Well, and these ones are, they're, yeah. So, do we have a academic committee end of year or anything, Dave?
She was gonna share the data. but
Okay, and we don't have it. Very
So
good.
no,
Okay. All right.
Technical difficulties.
yes, we're really doing well with that.
Um,
Multiple technical difficulties.
And I feel Veronica's frustration and disappointment because she came here yesterday and set everything up, and Pat came here yesterday and set everything up. And we were prepared to do the requirements
thought
for
we had
tonight's meeting.
everything
Everything was
eventually-
I
ready.
tested it. I
It was
tested it.
tested. We
It's
thought
about an hour and a half.
Pat,
for you
Pat
to
and,
do.
Pat and Veronica worked really hard to have us prepared tonight, yesterday, and I understand and appreciate your frustration. So we'll just keep doing the best we can with what we got.
I feel like it's more embarrassment than anything.
Okay, discussion and possible action on authorizers for next charter contract.
Right, so I just want to share that we have been authorized by AKCS since the school began. We had talked about for our last charter renewal, possibly just looking at the option of authorizing with PEC instead of AKCS. And then COVID happened and we felt like that was a lot to take on. And so we stayed with AKCS. If we need to really look at if it's beneficial for the school financially and with other things to stay with AKCS or move to PEC and just look at what is the best option for the school in terms of the financial piece of it. Here we're 5 years later than when we had this last discussion. Our school is in a much different space than it was 5 years ago. So the financial concerns of 5 years ago are not the same financial concerns today. So we would need to do another analysis, a different type of analysis, to really think about, is it going to benefit us or is it not going to benefit us? We do have to put in an intent with PEC if we do want to authorize with them. We do have to put that in no later than October 1st.
So, with that timeline, sorry, Miss Laura, are we starting to work on what the differences are between the two authorizers and the money?
I think what's something that would be helpful for us is the types of things the board would want to know in order for you all to make an informed decision.
Yeah, because Rhonda did a really great analysis for us and we looked at this. And then at that point in time, and I don't know if it will be the same, but my memory is that financially, that we had multiple levels of issues, and financially it was likely then, under the current 5 years ago, PE could have given us a little bit more money than APS could, but then there were other considerations at that time that I don't know exist at this time. So I do think that for me personally, and everyone else chime in, please. I would like to understand the differences in the authorizers and the finances, but then if there's any other, differences, like site visit versus not site visit, like authority, do we still, if we go to PED because of all the problems we've been having with food and transportation, what are the impacts there? I think those are the global high level things that I would like to understand about the differences between the authorizers. I know that there's been a trend recently of more schools leaving APS as an authorizer and going back to the state for financial and other reasons. So I think that's kind of the big picture we need to understand in order to make a decision. The other piece that I'm about to say here is extraordinarily controversial, but I'll say it anyways. The last time when we were looking at the authorizing and charter and changing authorizers and getting approved, we were also having a discussion, and again, it was 5 years ago, and the landscape was very different about middle school versus saying K-5. And I don't know if that's something that, from the administration standpoint, you guys are thinking about it this time, or if it's not on the table, which is fine, but if it's something that we're thinking about, we need to understand those impacts as well, I think. Does that make sense? So hopefully that was helpful, guys.
Yeah, I started the list. Is there anything else that anybody would like to add to the list?
I would like to hear from the one that sounds like you had experience last time with the characteristics you're looking at. So I've heard from the big financial pieces, obviously is how much you're getting per student, but what are the other characteristics financially you're looking at?
Well, access to different funds that you don't have through APS. So like right now, I understand you guys are a CP school, which means you're way above the threshold for Title I. Title I, for APS, they have a threshold of 60%, which is really hard for most schools to meet. So with the size of their school, would that mean 40%? I think it's 30%, right?
To qualify for CEP, they lowered the top to 25%, and so we're between that 25 and 30% program.
CEP, sorry.
Community eligibility provision.
Okay.
That's where
It's based on population and socioeconomic status.
Determines like how you're free to reach students for also takeout,
Okay.
like the percentage.
When the Bible was saying was a big part of the conversation back then.
Back then too,
Yes.
yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
you're not part of the conversation.
That particular grant is so it's just not a stable source of income for us, because we applied for it, but whether or not we get it, we've known over the last 5 years, we've had ongoing difficulties with that, so it's not really a viable income source for us.
It's not stable at all.
No, it's
And in the olden years, it was more stable.
It was more stable, then they started using APS's carryover.
Yeah.
For a DP, which reduced it. So that would actually increase probably, because APS, I don't know how they have carryover. But,
Well, we worked through all of that,
yeah.
and so it's no longer based on, it's now based on the percentage.
Mm-hmm.
But so, yeah, so there's a possibility that it could increase and we could end up with a little bit more.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we were initially getting between 150 to 200,000.
Yeah, I mean, consistent.
And now was it
Consistent.
50?
Yeah.
Because when Rhonda gave I was brand new on the board, but maybe I'd been here a few months, but when she gave the overview of the historical Goddess
Yeah.
and how much it was, and then where we landed in the limbo, and then we kind of come out a little bit, but we haven't come all the way back to where it was.
Not even close.
Yeah.
No.
It sounds like a lot of work to be accomplished in a couple of months.
Well, especially because audit started today as well.
It started and starting school. The timing is not.
No.
So in terms of the timing, if we want to change, we have to give our initial notice in October of this
October
year,
1st.
October 1st of this year. If we don't decide to change, then we don't have to worry about our renewal till next spring, right?
Well, kind of. I mean, we don't have to worry about it in the sense of pulling stuff together for it until the spring. I will still be supporting with other school renewals during this school year because APS, the year prior to your renewal year, APS always has those schools sit on renewal teams for other schools. It was just super helpful because you can go
You
through
can
that
see.
process before you have to do it for yourself, so that you can get some kind of the pros and cons of what to do and what not to do. So I will be sitting on some renewals.
But in terms of the labor that you guys have to do if we stay put, it doesn't start till next
That's right.
spring. Okay.
So that's like so there's the financial piece and the general piece of how hard is it to do business, which causes you to expend resources like site visits and.
No, I just want to know the difference between the requirements
Like,
and the
what is it?
authorizers. What does it look like?
Does APS get notified when PEC gets notified if we decided to go with the state?
I don't know.
You can only apply with one.
So do they know you're not?
Yeah, because
Yeah, because we have to give notice that we're gonna apply with PED.
Probably screw us over more.
I don't know. I'm trying to find out.
I mean, and there's.
Well, and that was, I mean, the relationship between Miss Christie and our authorizer, Mr. Escobedo, and his site visit things, that was a consideration we took into account when we made the decision to stay put at that time too. So, it's those practical parts as well. But I think just the differences between the two really, and, the financial piece and requirement pieces for me, but I think we need to know. And Rhonda's got her stuff that she could share with Laura from before, but, what opportunities are we leaving, like Puente para los Niños, and what opportunities could we get financially?
You wouldn't leave that out.
We wouldn't?
No,
Okay, good.
no. You just wouldn't have to meet those percentages.
The percentages for the
Yeah.
Title I qualification.
Well, from APS is
Yeah.
currently.
But then it's a give and take, because right now, we're a part of APS's student information system, so APS pays for that. If we have to purchase our own student information system, when I researched that 5 years ago, it was gonna be $20,000 a year. That was 5 years ago, I'm sure it's
More.
quite a bit more now.
Yeah,
So
there were
that's a
all those-
cost, and, so
yeah.
so we have to weigh those things out.
It's the cost and the implementation.
Right.
So there's a huge piece that goes into that implementation and changing something like that
That's right.
and the headache.
And
So you-
Vivian can
so you-
help us with that.
So you might get extra money from PED, but does it outweigh the cost?
Yeah,
Right.
and that was one of when we did this, I think you had came on right after.
Right
we did
after,
it.
with this is, yeah,
But when we did this the last time, that was a lot of there was a lot of considerations that went into it to make the decision to stay put and rather than move. And they may be similar this time, or they may be very different this time, because 5 years is gone, well, for some odd
So
year.
if we could leave this as a discussion
Yes.
item for August, and then put it as an action item for September.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, I think that's what we need to do. And then if we need to do a special meeting in between because we've got issues like we did the last time, we will.
Okay.
Do you need any help from any of us to do that?
I don't think so. I mean, a lot of it's gonna be financial. Some of it's gonna be researching, I already started some research. There's a lot of information on the PED website. There's in terms of how they're doing, like their renewal applications, and so I can do some comparisons based on what's already available and pull some information together.
And I will say my memory is that at the time when we were looking at this before, the board of the PED was comprised very differently too. And that was one of the considerations as well. And I don't know because, my inability to speak about certain things, but, I don't know what landscape we're looking at given the regs that are now subject to a injunction, what the landscape is and the feeling from the department is about charters. So that is gonna be a consideration as well.
right.
And that was a consideration last time.
Is there anyone that's recently gone through this change that we could ask them?
I did.
Cottonwood.
And I
Cottonwood.
talked to the director over there and got some information. that I
Yeah,
can
Cottonwood
get
switched from APS to PED year before last. Yeah. That one I know for certain because we were there when it was starting to happen. Not all of us were there.
Because if they're a year or two down the road, they can tell you whether they're happy. Or if they decided they made a poor choice.
When some switch over, then go back. Why,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I do.
And that's also part of the consideration for some of the more new members of the council is whatever decision we make is a decision we make for 5 years. We can't, there's nothing we can do for 5 years.
You're stuck.
So, there's no off ramp.
Sure, it is 5 years.
Okay. Any further discussion on charter authorization contract? Very good. Let's move on to new business. All right, exciting charter this evening. We are on to the election of the new governing council members, Fabian Aragon, and I'm going to say Rhonda Cordova Marcias because of the agenda. Miss Pat, would you like to do the honors, or would you can we move them as a slate, or do we need to do individual?
Have to do individually.
I think
Okay, that's fine.
because I would like to nominate Fabian Aragon.
I will second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Woohoo, welcome, Fabian.
Thank you for hanging in there. It's been a few months.
Next, I would like to nominate Rhonda Cordova Macias.
Second.
Oh. Whoever got it first, I don't need to be it. Dave, I think seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Welcome back.
MACIAS.
And after today, we can just use Macias, but since we had Cordova, I'm being careful.
So can you put them in Dropbox? Give them access to Dropbox?
Somebody can. I don't know if I can, but I can.
Oh.
If I can't, I can figure out who can.
So part of your training requirements as new board members is an onboarding activity to learn about the school and all that.
Which Dave
So
is instrumental in establishing.
And you can get credits.
You get 3 hours of your training credit, but that's all for them.
Oh,
So basically tells you what you need to do, and I'm kind of your go-between the original board members and you guys. So if you have questions, you can contact me, but if you could at least look through this and do some start between now and next month, and then we can talk about it for 5 minutes after the meeting or whatever. So it's all online now, so if you get access to Dropbox, you can see it. I mean, things say, look at the policies and procedures and look at this and that. Doesn't mean you have to read it word for word, but just get an idea what it's all about.
I sent her background check. Do I do that with you?
You don't need to do a background check unless you're planning on being a volunteer within the school. So,
Like in during the school day.
Oh, okay.
so one of the items on there is to come
It's never.
observe a multi-age class for part of the day. You can do that without a background check. So I don't think either of you need a background check,
Okay.
at least not to be a board member.
Yeah.
If you want to be a volunteer, then you need a background check.
Got it. Cool. Will do. Thank you.
and you guys will also get added to Missy's emails when Pat does that, so you'll get stuff for the trainings and that kind of stuff. And then they'll also, because you're new board members and you have the heightened training hour requirement, this gets you 3. Dave was very instrumental in setting up this onboarding. It was a big project that he wanted to do, and he's done an excellent job. So you get those credits for your 3 of your 10, but you'll get an online link to go to a place that you get a giant book like this big. I printed it all out the first time because I didn't know better. And you can do your trainings online for the new orientation.
And
That's
based on the fact that you've been hanging around for about 4 months, like reviewing the last 3 months of board minutes and reviewing the last 3 months of financials, you've kind of already done that. I just.
Yeah, you got to do it. You have a very good head start between budget and calendar. And Rhonda, she knows it all. She knows more than most of us.
One of the more relevant things going forward is to look at the committees that we have and see which ones you're interested in helping out on. Maybe by next month, you can tell us which ones you'd like to participate on.
And I will put a little plug, because since we're gonna lose our wonderful Miss Hathaway in September, we are going to need a policy committee chair.
Took it right out of my mouth.
But also September, we've got officer positions that are opening, are gonna be up for renewal.
Yeah,
So people
officer
should be thinking
positions.
about. whether
September.
they would like to have more.
You two can decide if you want to be president.
Or vice president.
Rhonda, I think you should be president.
Don't scare her, she just got here.
I know, I'm not scared. Hey.
Also, since Connie is not going to be with us for the next school year, the nominating and professional development committee, she serves on that with me
Okay.
as chair. I'm chair and she's, I don't know if you want to call her co-chair, but
She's a member.
she's a member. So think about whether you'd like to
And then,
participate in that committee. Try to determine, I think, that everybody should serve on 2 committees.
and then just another reminder, and I'll try and remember, I just wrote it down here, that in next month, we need to just, whatever motion we need to do to move me from or do we have to do a vote to move me from a parent member to community member?
I don't know.
I don't
we
think
do.
so.
I think we just put me in the slot. Okay, very good.
And then, I was just, sorry to interrupt you, I was gonna mention Connie was also
No,
on
we didn't,
finance.
you're right, we just moved it.
So when she moves off the board, there'll be a slot on finance committee as well. And gee, I don't know if you have any experience with that.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that is where Rhonda goes to serve on the committee.
It's not a conflict though, if I can help, Laura with like different questions and
I
stuff.
think as long as you're not on audit, it may not be,
Okay.
but
They'll be in
Is that-
Is that a Jason question?
I think it's a Jason
Or
question.
policy,
Anyway.
he said it, policy issues too.
Yeah, because I hate to not be there for
Right,
them.
no,
So I don't know how we notify them about how they get in Dropbox or whatever.
I have a note, so I'll look into it.
Yeah, I think.
And they can get an AKCS
Email
email
address.
address too.
Yes.
And it's up to you whether you want to use it or not. I don't use mine because I couldn't activate it, so. Get kicked me out, so.
But I would highly recommend, and I know that I am bad about this, but I'm gonna get better. If you're not gonna use the AKCS email, to use a personal email, not your work email.
Do you want an AKCS email? Want one, Fabian?
I use my personal.
All right,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
teachers.
cross that off my list, thanks guys.
Yeah.
All right, can we move on to action on additional check signers?
So we did get Dominic set up as a check signer. He is official now, and that's been super helpful. Because with Jenny being out of town, Dominic's been able to sign checks for us. But it would be nice if we had an additional check signer. I think that was the plan last month when we talked about this, right? Was to get Dominic set up, but then to also set up another person, and so that in the event that
What's
Dominic's
the
not able
time
to
frame
stop.
you need it? I mean, if you said I need a check signed, is it like?
It's usually within a day or two, with a couple days, right, Laura? I mean, it's typical.
And
It's not always like same day. I mean, when Mariposa was check signer, she would just do it when she came to pick up her kiddo. Jenny, same thing. I would just text her and say, hey, we have checks, and she'd be like, okay, I'll do it when I pick my kid up. And so that's helpful. We called Dominic's office now, and he's like, okay, I'll stop on my way home from work.
Yeah.
I'm close by but hard to contact, so
Yes.
it's nice to have.
I think having two is a good idea, but I also think that we should consider, I mean, since Jenny's not rolling off until September, that we should keep this on for next month and not take any action tonight, because I would like to research, because I know that both Rhonda and Fabian have very strong financial backgrounds. And now that they're on, if there's conflict with Rhonda serving on financial committee, I think we want Fabian to do that. And depending on, I mean, if he's willing to do so, but depending on how the committee assignment works out, that's gonna dictate who we're gonna have available for check signing. Because you can't be on the finance committee and sign the checks, and you can't be on audit committee and sign the checks, and you can't be president and sign the checks. So we need to address this, and having two is good so that we, can manage better. But I think we're a little premature trying to do it tonight.
So if you, in the future, if you need somebody, I can do it, but I'm in town in 3 or 4 days. I don't want to drive in just to do it.
Well, and it may be that it's gonna be you, depending on how things shake out.
It's very rare that we have an emergency situation that we need a justice signature for. It's just because, but with Laura being here on staff, she's able to really keep up with things and can
Be ahead of
anticipate
it.
what's coming. And so it's very, very rare that we have something happening at the last minute.
I think all the
Because-
years I signed,
and-
maybe we had like a one thing and it was like completely unexpected, but it was not a problem. for
Well,
me
we've
to get.
trained the staff pretty well to say, we don't do those last minute.
Yeah.
Just plan ahead.
No, it was
Because
one we
that's always
couldn't,
our issue, right?
it was one we couldn't avoid. It was a state one.
So,
We
so
had
a
to do
question, just because Jennifer's out of town, I probably have to be out of town Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, confirming tomorrow. So you won't have coverage next week, so. My consideration, you need someone to sign something this week, and you anticipate needing something
I
next
think
week.
the only thing would be our reimbursement checks, but
And-
I'm okay too.
And what is the process like? I mean, when you become a signer, like you just become a signer, or do you have to like actually do a signature card and all that kind of
We
stuff?
have to
Because
we have to do a
because you-
resolution. We have to do signature.
Right?
Yeah, we have to do a
because
resolution.
can that even happen before next week? Is my point. Yeah. Yeah. I think.
So we're like,
It's
is there dollars in there?
I don't make last time.
Famous last words.
Okay, so we'll leave this
You can
on
plan and
for,
plan and
we'll leave
plan.
this on for next meeting too. Okay. Handbook, Miss Christie, you emailed it to us. Obviously, we cannot show it on the screen tonight. And my memory from what I reviewed was there were no substantive changes, only date and
Table of contents.
table of contents changes. Okay,
That was the only changes.
so with that explanation, given that there were no substantive, I would like to move on. So I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 discussion. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So the next one's the financial procedures manual, and I just want to start off by saying this is gonna be a little tricky without everybody being able to see it, because Laura did it as like strike throughs so that you could see what we're proposing.
Okay, wait, I'm confused then, because, we need to amend that motion, because I thought they were together. So,
Oh, no, they're two separate
Okay.
documents, sorry.
okay, no, I'm sorry.
I was on to the next
So,
one in my head and wasn't listening. I
Employee
apologize.
handbook was the last motion only.
Mhm, yes.
Okay, very good. We'll start August 2nd. So how do you want to handle this one without red lines?
I mean, we could talk it through, there's what, like 6 or 7 changes, we could talk it through.
Was that one emailed
I
to me?
could make copies quickly if we wanted to move this to the end of new business. I could make copies for everybody so that you have it to look at. Or we should probably not table it because we really need to make sure we have it because we need to train everybody on it at the beginning of the school year.
Well, and I'm not arguing against making copies if that's what we need to do, but it appears to me that either you or Laura are the next 3 items here. of telling us what we're
Do-
dealing with.
Do we have enough devices to
Well,
like?
I can send it to the copier and Danielle can.
Okay. That's fine, I just wanted to make sure.
I have it right here in the, yeah, no, I'll give you the.
So did the board approve procedures meetings?
No, she's just showing the
Oh, okay, yeah. And they just do it as approval if necessary, if there's anything that needs approval.
Is there anything that needs approval?
Not in the policy, we only switched up a little bit of procedures.
That's what I'm saying, in the fiscal responsibility handbook, is there anything that requires board approval?
You want to
Well,
just
if we
talk
don't
through it then?
require board approval, just tell us what you're changing.
Tell us what it is.
All right. All right, so I'll just tell you what we're changing. So under invoices, it talks about how the original invoice will then be attached to the PO and packing list and the business, and it said that the business manager will then forward the original voucher and supporting documentation to the accounts payable clerk. That we're gonna take out the accounts payable clerk because
Just one
we
and the
don't have one, it's one person, so we're just gonna strike that. Under responsibility of school employees in regards to, what's this one for? Oh, for purchase request, we had said that staff should allow approximately 2 weeks for processing their request. We're changing that from 2 to 4 weeks because things come up and we want to make sure that, number one, they're planning with ample time, but then also giving us ample time because sometimes we have to have conversations about budget and it's 2 weeks sometimes isn't reasonable.
What kind of request was that? Sorry.
So that's for purchase request.
Purchase funding, yeah.
All right, so under travel per diem and mileage, so in this entire section, what we did is we made sure that it followed the INMAC 2.42.2.9, which is the INMAC code that's the administrative code that talks about travel and per diem.
For state employees.
Exactly. And so, and every year we have to update the handbook to make sure it matches the per diem rate that comes out by the Department of Finance.
Yep.
So that it makes, because that comes out on May 1st, so we have to make sure it matches. If we miss it, we don't want to run into an issue where our procedures say one thing, DFA says something else, and there's a conflict. So what we'd like to do is instead of saying the exact amount, we want to say that not to exceed the per diem maximum allowable amount by the New Mexico Department of Finance Administration, instead of actually saying the amount. That way, we
don't have to change it every year.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's great.
And then we put a note in here that we want not just receipts, but itemized receipts. And then we just said that AKCS will follow in that 2.42.2.9 section B part 2 when actual expenses are reimbursed instead of per diem.
Perfect.
And then under student activities management, we had a section in here that talked about how cash receipts would be given to the front office. And so we just changed it slightly so that it's all money receipts and deposit slips for activity funds would be placed in the safe deposit box. And then the business office will process the deposit. So just to make sure that what's in writing matches
The process.
Exactly. Yep. So just a slight update on that. And then the last thing, I think it's the last one, is under textbooks and damage and lost, stolen, or damaged textbooks. We're just adding in also instructional material. So that it says textbooks and instructional materials. So where it says textbooks, we're also saying instructional materials. And it says that we follow state law and regulations in regard to that. And when I went back and reviewed the law, it also notes instructional materials. So just matching language.
Well, that all sounds procedural to me and excellent and does not require our approval. So we will move on. Okay, ratification of change to participants in National Charter Conference.
Okay, sorry, that's me again. Let me go back to
I think you're the next, I think you're the next three.
So I have to pull up my notes that I made on this one so I can remember what the issue was. Okay. Sorry, which one is this one exactly?
D.
Change of participants. Okay, so in February, the governing council approved for Laura, Anna, myself, and Danielle to attend the National Charter School Conference. A conflict arose. Danielle was not able to attend the conference. We had already paid the conference fee. And so instead of the school being out money for the conference fee and losing that, we decided to put in another person to attend the conference in Danielle's place. We ended up having our special education coordinator go, which was awesome because she attended some really great sessions on special education. And so we just need to ratify that change happened. So that what happened in actuality, we've got that for the auditors so that they can see in minutes that the governing council approves that happened.
Okay. And I will make a motion to
Go slow.
ratify the change of, well, no, I will make a motion to, hang on, I got the words now. Now I have to hang on. I think the motion is going to be, to ratify, I need a prefatory sentence, it's just not coming to me, hang on, phrase. Motion to approve the previously approved participants for the National Charter Conference to exchange Miss Danielle for Miss Carrie due to circumstances that required Miss Danielle not to attend. Sound right? Second,
I'll second that. What she said.
any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
You need last names.
Yeah, he will. I didn't have
Danielle's
that.
last name is Rolling.
I knew I was gonna kill it.
L-I-N-G.
Okay.
And Carrie is C-A-R-R-I-E. And her
Rodriguez.
last name is Rodriguez.
Rodriguez was missing in my brain for a second. It came back as soon as you saw the name. Okay,
It was not very slow, but.
we'll fix it.
Problem with having lawyers on this stuff. Aaron's even worse, he's just like.
I'll switch your jobs. I'll go back.
No.
I'll go back to that job. September, I'll go back to that job. I know he did pull the check. Well, we can fix that too. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm totally just kidding. Okay, ratification of the clarification of price of the hotel.
All right, so state statute 2.42.2.9, section B.
Yes.
Limits hotel expenses to $215 per night unless pre-approval is granted. So in February, you all did approve the proposed budget that Laura put out, which included the cost of the hotel, and she had shared that cost with you at $275 per night plus tax. However, it was not specifically noted as a separate statement in the minutes. And for audit purposes, I just want to make sure that we're covering ourselves in case there's an issue so that we can make sure it's noted in the minutes that you all did approve that.
Even though we approved the budget, what do our February minutes say?
I'll pull it for you.
Because if we approve I'll do this,
it
but if
doesn't-
we approve the budget, then
It didn't say specifically anything about the budget, it's only talked about participants, I believe, but let me pull it real quick.
because I know we approved the budget,
Yeah,
because it was an expensive trip.
Yes. All right, it says, the administration presented a proposal to travel to the National Charter School Convention in Boston, Massachusetts in June, July for Christy Collins, Anna Jimenez, Daniel Rowland, and Marcella. A motion to approve the travel request was made by Jennifer Hathaway and seconded by Connie Shanae. There was no further discussion, the vote was unanimous.
I feel like that covers us, but we'll do it anyway, to make you feel better. Because you presented a budget and a package, we
It
approved
doesn't
it.
say that though, so I was just nervous. I don't know, did you have thoughts on this?
I think we're good.
The attachments and everything, right, to the website.
But do you have it all
Available?
We have it available.
You have what you presented to us available, which is what we approved.
Okay, so as long as you all feel like we're covered, then I'm good. I just wanted to make sure that we're
I mean,
okay.
we can ask Jason if we need to do it, but I think we could do it next month if we need to fix it. But I feel like what we approved was the package you presented, which included the budget.
Right, and we did have a conversation when we talked about the budget about the specific hotel, and because you all were concerned that the price per person was significant, but we all went through it, we all had time to ask questions and vet it and do all those things, and it was approved. Honestly,
They were annoying. Yeah. Small, it's small.
I mean, that's very expensive for Boston.
it is
Yeah,
not.
so I'm like
No.
275.
I would have thought it would be much more than
Yeah,
that.
me too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I go to conferences in Denver and Dallas and places that are
And they're
big
over
and they're
$300.
$400
Yeah.
a night. And that's not for a fancy hotel, guys. That's for like regular hotel.
A double tree,
I don't go to fancy ones.
a double tree looking
So
to.
the next agenda item, you may feel the same way about, but I'll still talk about it when you're ready.
Okay,
What
go
was
ahead.
the biggest meeting that we viewed that stuff before?
February,
February, whatever.
February 13th.
Okay, explain.
All right, so this next one has to do with the per diem for meal allowance. In the budget that Laura presented to you all in February, she put the per diem at $55 per day. However, the DFA had the per diem at $59 per day. It was expensive. It was very expensive. So I don't know if we need to adjust and do any type of approval since what was presented in the budget that was approved didn't match the DFA.
Are the reimbursement requests matching DFA?
Yes.
Then yes, that one we do need to fix.
What is that?
Department of Finance Administration.
And that's for the state.
Yes.
Okay, so that one we do need to do. So I will make a motion to approve the per diem at $59 per day in accordance with the New Mexico Administrative Code, rather than the $55 per day that was presented in the budget we approved for this trip.
Wouldn't it be phrased more, because it was approved, we did actual expenses, and the maximum for actual expenses was $59, right?
It's still your per diem.
Okay, so there was a conversation at the winter conference about reimbursing per diem versus actual expenses. There was like this whole discussion about not mixing the two.
Well, you still, your $59 is still your maximum allowable.
Right.
That you can do a per diem or you can do actual expenses. Either way, it's still $59 a day is your max.
You don't get reimbursed for actual expenses if you do it actual expenses, if you go over 59?
No.
Okay,
Then do you have any clarification?
No, so you're right, that you can't go over the 59, but there are some that, we'll just give them the 59.
Yes.
Without any receipts. or
And
anything
no
like that.
substantiation.
And that's what an actual per diem is when you just say, we're gonna give you your $59 regardless if you spend it or
That's what I
not.
was saying with the phrasing, that's my concern. with
So
it. I didn't
what do you want me
phrases
to fix?
Did you give the actual, or is this just
No,
this
it's
per
actual,
diem?
it's actual expenses with receipts.
With receipts.
So then it's still the per diem, though. I mean, it's still the $59.
Mhm.
You're just not getting refunded for the other.
Means you can get $4 more.
So it should be.
Yeah, I think we're okay on the
Oh.
That's what's in the states per diem.
Do we do that based on location?
Or anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So you don't get your actual, yeah, I can't even believe it. I mean, I
Well,
can't,
we
but
were. And if we did a terrible lunch they provided.
okay, I think I had a motion, I think we wrote
I'll
it down.
second it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Ms. Pat, this one is you again, certification of completion of governing council state mandated training.
Okay, I'm not sure how to handle this. Based on the July 11th email that I received from PED, there were 8 council members. And 4 of those exceeded the required training hours. So I'd like to certify that that happened. 3 did not complete the hours. And I would like to refer to the discussion earlier as to why.
5 of the 8 completed or exceeded?
4 exceeded,
4 exceeded,
4
1
exceeded.
met.
1 met, 3
Okay.
did not complete.
Okay.
So I will make a motion to certify the completion of the governing council state mandated training as outlined by Ms. Berger. 4 exceeded, 1 met, 3 did not complete.
I will second that.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Does the 8, 4, 8, 5 in total completed need to be in the motion?
You
Or
mean the names of those individuals?
No,
just
the
those
numbers.
numbers do actually need to be in there?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
well, hang on, let's think about that. What did I say? Make a motion to certify the,
Completion of the governing council training, 8 members.
okay, let's do 8 members, 4 exceeded. No, if we want to say the 4 exceeded, I'm trying to think of how to say it.
Let me just say that, I just need to say 8 members, there's 8 members of the council, 5 complete. Right?
Well, Pat wants to
The
demonstrate
report actually does break it down.
who exceeded. I
Yes,
think we
the
should leave it
really
alone.
exceeded.
I don't like it as much as you don't like it, but I think we need to leave it alone. Part of being transparent and open,
So leave the numbers in? Okay.
don't you think?
I think so.
I think so.
Thanks, I was just clarifying.
All right. Miss Christie, you have your out of town travel and I need to run to the ladies, so I'm gonna leave
Me
Miss
too.
Patton. Oh, can we take a moment?
Can we take a look?
Okay.
We'll be right back with you.
Something like that.
Okay, we're back.
Do you want me to go ahead and go?
Yes. please.
All right, so, the agenda item is about out of town travel. I know I just did out of state travel, and now I'm coming to you about out of town travel. Public charter schools in New Mexico is hosting a leadership retreat. You've probably seen this in the newsletter. It's in Ruidoso. They had it scheduled for July because it was in July and I was already going to Boston. I really didn't want to do both back to back because it was literally within a very short time frame. So I really didn't want to do it back to back. But then the fires happened in Ruidoso. So they canceled it. They've rescheduled it now for the end of August. And in looking at the description, I think it could be very beneficial if I were to go. It's August 26th, 27th, and 28th. It's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And so it would be obviously drive down there on Sunday night. And then they have a hotel block at the end of the mountain guides that they've got the hotel rates for. So
Which dates are those?
August 26th through the 28th. So it would be hotel for the 25th through the 27th.
3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you require board approval for this travel?
That is what our manual says. But I actually looked this up. For out of town travel is what it says.
Okay, well, we should probably.
It said I looked, because I was like,
Clarify that to say like,
We need to, that needs to go on the policy list. Let's fix that.
because I was like,
So, did you say the total amount?
I did not. I can give you a total amount probably, or at least a ballpark. And the registration is $275. The hotel is, the hotel rate is between $99 and $109 a night, and then plus taxes, of course, and that would be for 3 nights. And then food, and mileage.
I will make
Less
a,
than $1,000.
Less than $1,000.
I will make a motion to approve the request for out-of-town travel to Ruidoso made by head administrator for August 26th to the 28th.
Second.
Any further discussions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we want to, I know we didn't do this at the beginning, but I think it'll be okay. Do we want to do old business continued on transportation, or is that what we have to talk? Okay, thank you. We just didn't know. Okay. All right. So we'll make a motion to move into closed session for discussion of limited matters pursuant to 1015-1-H2 and 7. Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye. Pause the
Any
recording.
opposed? No. All right, we will now go to, turn this back on. I am making a motion to come out of closed session and certify that we only discussed matters pursuant to 10-15-H7. Have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. We're out of executive session completely. Okay, so old business continued. Discussion and possible action on transportation for 2024-2025. Ms. Christie?
Okay, so, we've been in conversation with AKCS, who we contract with our for buses. Because of the AKCS restructuring of the school start times within the district, that is impacting charter schools and the availability of busing that AKCS is able to provide to charter schools. AKCS has informed us that the only way they can provide busing, continue to provide busing to AKCS is if we change our times to 9:15 to 4 o'clock. That's a shift of 55 minutes in the morning, and it actually does not give us enough time because 9:15 to 4 o'clock is shorter than our actual school day. So we've come up with some different scenarios of what we could do to kind of work around this busing issue. So Anna, if you'll hold the chart for me again so I can see it. Hold it for me so I can see it. There you go. All right, so our current school day is 8:20 to 3:41. We came up with one shift of moving the school day by 20 minutes, 8:40 to 4:01. This would unfortunately get the bus here late every day, so we don't see that as a viable option. So that is off the table in my opinion.
What was the time that they could get here from?
They can get the kids here by between 9 and 9:10. So then we came up with a shift of moving our start time to 8:55, which is 35 minutes later than our current start time, which ends our school day 35 minutes later, which is at 4:16. That particular scenario would give us buses in the morning and the afternoon, but that would put kids potentially in before care from 7:45 until 8:55, so an hour before school starts every day that they're potentially in before school care. Kids are that could compromise their learning in the afternoons. It would also impact families who need to get kids to after school activities because pickup time would be 4:15 to 4:35. So that could really impact families who have those after school activities. I see that this particular scenario could impact a lot of families because that impacts everybody in the school. We came up with another scenario where we're only shifting the school day by 10 minutes, so starting at 8:30 instead of 8:20. That means we would have no busing available in the mornings, but would ensure that we still have busing available in the afternoon.
For a 3:41.
For a 3:51 dismissal, because pickup would then be between 3:51 and 4:10, which is within the window AKCS has told us that they can pick up in the afternoon.
Which is only, in practicality, in terms of pickup, not buses, but in terms of the people who drive, pickup ends only 10 minutes later than it historically has.
Yes.
Well, it seems to me that based on those three scenarios and what you're telling us, that the least impact to our school community is to not have buses in the morning and to have buses in the afternoon. Is that your recommendation?
It is, because if we keep our current schedule, we would have no buses in the morning and no buses in the afternoon. If we shift by just 10 minutes, we could at least have busing for the afternoon.
And then if, as I understand it, APS is saying we don't have enough drivers and their time change doesn't accommodate what we would like our hours to be.
Yes,
correct?
That's correct.
And so if that's the case, and we do the buses in the afternoon, if APS changed something or they got more drivers or something else, they could provide us a bus in the morning.
Yes.
At some time during the school year.
Yes, if they were able to bring on more drivers, yes.
Okay. Well, based on those three options, I'd like to hear from other people, but it seems that the last option you presented, which you've recommended, is the best option for student success and family success and keeping us as close to the normal schedule that this community is accustomed to as we can.
It's the least worst option.
Yeah.
Yep.
It seems like those are the options we keep having to deal with. That's the least
What's the least worst? It is.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else have comments, discussion, concerns?
I have concerns, but
Well, we all have concerns. I feel like APS needs to give us 2 buses, but that is what it is. Okay, well, if there's no other questions or discussion at this moment, I will make a motion to approve the hours that allow us to have transportation in the afternoon, but no transportation in the morning.
So 8:30.
8:30 to 3:51.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We
we're
have,
gonna be sending something out just shortly, quickly.
Tomorrow.
and please, Ms. Christie, just based on some things I've seen on the Facebook, make sure that people understand that the board care is going to be available and aftercare is going to be available, please. Thank you. Okay, I think we have worked very hard this evening and we've been here long enough, but we did pretty darn good considering we started a half hour late. So good job, team. I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Let's go home.
7:52.
Signatures.
Signatures, okay.
Yeah.